Today we're going behind those famous gates of Buckingham Palace. We're going to uncover its pretty surprising story, one that involves marshland, royal drama, and some incredible wartime resilience.
Okay, so this is the picture we all have in our heads, right? That grand facade, the flag flying, the huge Victoria Memorial out front. It's a symbol of royalty, of British history. You'd recognize it anywhere in the world. But here's the thing. Was it always meant to be this massive, monumental palace? Well, the answer might not be what you think.
Now, take a look at this. This is where it all began. Not a palace at all, but Buckingham House. Just a large, impressive townhouse built for a duke. I mean, it is a completely different world from the building we just saw.
And get this, the spot where it was built wasn't exactly prime real estate. It was basically a marsh with the River Tyburn running right through it. The wildest part, that river is still there, flowing right under the courtyard and the south wing of the palace to this day.
So how on earth did a respectable townhouse on a swamp become the icon we know today? Well, that transformation is the first chapter in our story.
Okay, so let's walk through the key steps. In 1703, it's built for a duke. Simple enough. Then, in 1761, King George III buys it for what seems like a total steal today, just £21,000, as a private spot for his wife, Queen Charlotte. It was just called the Queen's House. The real shift, the game changer, happens in 1826. George IV decides he wants to go big and turn it into a proper palace. And then, finally, in 1837, Queen Victoria makes it the official royal residence, and that's when everything changes.
So speaking of Victoria, let's really zoom in on her. She's the monarch who truly defined the palace, and she was the very first one to call it her official home. So in 1837, a young Queen Victoria moves in. You'd think getting a brand new palace would be amazing, right? Except the home she inherited was, well, it was a mess.
The reality behind that fancy facade was, frankly, a bit of a disaster. Just picture this. The chimneys smoked so badly they couldn't light any fires, so everyone was freezing. The ventilation was so terrible the whole place constantly smelled bad. On top of that, the staff was apparently lazy and the palace was dirty. But the biggest problem for Victoria and her husband, Prince Albert, was that it was just too small for their growing family. So, Prince Albert came up with a solution, a huge addition. On the left, you can see the original U-shaped design with that open courtyard. To solve the space problem, they literally just built a new east wing, which you see on the right. And in the process of closing off that courtyard, they accidentally created the most famous balcony in the entire world, the public face of the monarchy.
But the story of the palace takes a really dark turn. After Prince Albert died in 1861, Victoria was just completely overcome with grief. She withdrew from public life entirely and just left Buckingham Palace. It sat empty, silent, and totally neglected for years. And the neglect got so obvious that in 1864, someone actually pinned this sarcastic note to the fence. Can you imagine reading that on the gates of the royal palace? It was a public jab at the Queen for abandoning her duties, and it really fanned the flames of anti-monarchy sentiment at the time. Eventually, the Queen did return, and the palace was brought back to life. It then transformed into something else entirely, a national symbol, a stage for history, especially during Britain's darkest moments. During World War II, the palace wasn't just a symbol, it was a direct target. In fact, it was bombed a staggering 7 times. The most serious attack happened in 1940, when a bomb destroyed the palace chapel. And here's the critical part. King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen Mother, were right there, inside the palace when it happened. In the aftermath, Queen Elizabeth said this, and it was a hugely powerful thing to say. She was telling Londoners, who were being bombed every night, that the royal family was right there with them, sharing the same danger. This created this incredible bond and turned a moment of terror into a massive propaganda win for the crown. And that shared struggle all led up to this moment, one of Britain's most iconic images ever, VE Day. The palace, having survived the Blitz right alongside its people, became the natural center for the national celebration. And there they are, the royal family and Winston Churchill on that balcony, a perfect symbol of resilience and victory. So, from a wartime symbol of defiance, what is the palace today? Let's step behind that famous facade and take a look at the modern machine that's at work.
First of all, the scale is just immense. It has 77,000 square meters of floor space. That's about the size of 10 football fields. It's a workplace for 800 people, and you might want to sit down for this, it has 78 bathrooms. 78!
This floor plan gives you a sense of the layout. It's all built around that central courtyard we saw earlier. It's just a vast, intricate maze of staterooms, private apartments, offices, and all the service areas that make it run.
This right here is the ballroom, and it's the largest room in the entire palace. Queen Victoria added it, and today it's where all the huge events happen. Think state banquets and the investiture ceremonies, where people receive honors like knighthoods.
But it's not all just traditional European grandeur. One of the palace's coolest secrets is its chinoiserie style, which you can find in a lot of the rooms. This very distinct Oriental design comes from fittings that were basically plundered from the super exotic Royal Pavilion in Brighton. It's a really fascinating peek into royal history and tastes.
So when you get right down to it, Buckingham Palace today is so much more than a home. It's the busy headquarters of a global institution. It's a priceless art gallery. It's the center stage for national life, for celebration, and for mourning. And of course, it's a massive global tourist attraction.
So you think about that journey from a private house on a marsh to a wartime target and finally to a global icon. The palace is almost like a living building, constantly adapting and evolving with the monarchy it serves. Which leaves us with one final thought. What do you think its next chapter will hold?